What's up guys, Eli here back for another new stuff video. I haven't been buying a ton of CDs if I'm being honest, so some of these I think I've been sitting on for, maybe going on 2 months. I don't know, I guess I've been focusing more on horror movies lately and other genres other than, the typical metal that I'm into. I've been kind of diving more into prog and stuff like that, but don't get me wrong, I'm not selling out just yet. Still love black metal, still love death metal. Those genres mean a hell of a lot to me. Just haven't been buying as much, and this isn't all extreme stuff either. This is it's rock and metal, but there's a little bit of a variety over the different subgenres. Decent little stack here, so let's get started. So I even have them separated into subgenres, which I do sometimes with my videos. So starting off with Electric Wizard Black Masses. This is their 7th album from 2010. First and only album to feature Taz and Danaglu on bass. You might know Taz from really, really cool bands that he's in, called one called Mirror. Awesome. Great traditional heavy metal. If you haven't heard Mirror, dude, get on that. All 3 albums are honestly one of the more underrated traditional heavy metal bands out right now, and definitely one of the best. And he's also in Satan's Wrath, another really cool kind of black speed metal thrash type band. Excellent. And this came out on Metal Blade Records. So this followed my favorite Electric Wizard album, which is Witch Cult Today. So I will say, when this came out, I felt a little disappointed. I felt like it was still kind of in that Witch Cult Today vein, but it just seemed to pale in comparison. I still feel like it's inferior to that album, but I feel like this was their last really good album. I think the 2 after this, kind of fell short. But give it some years if you haven't heard it in a while, and I think it sounds a little better now than it did when it came out. So Black Masses, Electric Wizard. Then from 2008, we have a solo album by Brent Bjork, his 8th album, actually. So Brent Bjork was the drummer of legendary bands like Kyuss and Fu Manchu. I like Fu Manchu, I think they're pretty cool, but I'm a big Kyuss fan. Absolutely love Kyuss. Easily my favorite, desert rock band or stoner rock, whatever you want to call them. I've never heard any of Brent Bjork's solo stuff, so I don't really know what to expect. Is it in the Kyuss and Fu Manchu vein, or is it something altogether completely different? Maybe like a garage rock or something? I don't know. Looking forward to spinning this and, seeing what I think. Now, you guessed it, moving on to death metal with the debut Cannibal Corpse album from 1990. This is the 2002 Metal Blade repress. You'll notice, and I kind of don't like this, the colors are, they're a little bit more clear, but they're less bright. The original, maybe didn't look as nice as this, but the colors were a lot brighter, and I'm just used to looking at that one. I used to have this album, actually. I think I had the original CD pressing. Lost it years ago and just never ended up getting a replacement copy. But finally, it's back in my collection, and I have every single Cannibal Corpse studio album. What's up? It's Eli from the future, time traveling back in time to this video to show stuff that I bought in the future. So, yeah. I picked up these things after I recorded this video, so I am shoehorning them in, I guess you could say. I got a couple of new releases, old bands that I just refuse to stop following, even if they maybe don't put out their best material, in these modern times, but still pretty good, such as Bloodbath with Survival of the Sickest. Haven't listened to this yet, haven't heard a note off of it. I've been a fan of Bloodbath since the beginning, maybe even the beginning. As you know, it's a Swedish supergroup, basically. They've had a few lineup changes, but nowadays they have Nick Holmes from Paradise Lost on vocals, which is an interesting choice considering he hasn't always been a death metal vocalist. He's kind of dabbled in other styles. Jonas Rensky on bass. He is the founding member of this band. You might know him from Catatonia. And then you got Anders Nystrom on guitars. I apologize to everyone, and Anders included. I don't remember where he comes from, but I know he's been in the death metal scene for many, many years. And then Same with Thomas Akvik on guitars. I'm not familiar with him either, and I'm not sure who plays drums on this because... Okay, Martin Axenrod from Opeth. Not sure why they don't show him. Maybe he's considered a session member now, I'm not really sure. But yeah, cool Wes Ben Scoter artwork. I'm loving the old 90s death metal font right here. Nice presentation. I'm liking the Bloodbath logo in blue. I think it really works. As I've said before, I'm not a huge fan of Wes Ben Scoter's modern artwork. It's good. There's nothing wrong with it at all. I think I prefer his earlier art style. But yeah, what do you guys think about this one? I wasn't a big fan of their last album. I mean, there was nothing wrong with it at all. It just didn't grab me like pretty much all their releases typically do. So really stoked to listen to this, though. More Wes Ben Scoter artwork. We got the newest album from Autopsy, Morbidity Triumphant. I have only heard one song from this. I guess you could say it was the single. Don't remember the name of it, but it sounded very... now, I know Chris Reifert's a big fan of like doom and sludge, stoner metal, stuff like that. But those are the vibes I was getting from the song that I heard. Maybe even a little too much, but I doubt the entire album sounds like that. I think it was, it might just be that song, or maybe just... I don't know. We'll see. I need to listen to the whole thing. Autopsy... very consistent. For me, I'm a huge fan. They've never put out a bad album, but the last few have been kind of, to me, maybe a little bit less inspired sounding. I don't know how you guys feel. I also like this. They have their P.O. Box address listed here, and it's, so they said, we're out there on the internet. Come find us. We dare you. And since 1988, we still have this physical address. I thought that's pretty funny. So yeah, what do you guys think of the new Autopsy? Like it? Don't like it? What do you think? Then from 2004, I have this Jungle Rot album, Fueled by Hate. I think this is their second or third album, not really sure, but this came out on Olympic Recordings. I dig Jungle Rot, always have. I prefer their earlier stuff, definitely. I mean, they're still good, but they would go on to put a little bit too much. They lean too far into the hardcore side of things. And I mean, it works. They make it work. It's become part of their sound. But there's less of that. Their early albums are just mostly just primal, simple, pounding, old-style death metal. And so Jungle Rot were playing, OSDM, if you want to say that. I don't really like that term. But they were doing this, like, playing throwback death metal before 99% of all the bands that are doing it nowadays. To me, they are one of the earlier purveyors of, bringing back the old style death metal into modern times. Because I mean, they only started, I think, either the very tail end of the '90s or the very early 2000s, one of the two. But they were, when other bands were playing more of a modern death metal style, they were, they keeping the 90, 91 style alive. And I don't think they get enough credit for that, by the way. I also had to get this Rob Halford pop. I know I'm showing pops lately, and every time I show one, I'm like, I don't really collect these, but I don't know. They're cool. I buy maybe 2 a year. I have maybe 10 or 12 of them, but I had to get this. Big Judas Priest fan, big Rob Halford fan. I couldn't really say no. And you might have seen me wear this shirt already. I think it's made an appearance in at least one video. Got this Morbid Angel shirt, one of my favorite death metal bands of all time. I've always wanted a shirt of theirs, I just never managed to get one. Now, I don't know if this is a bootleg or not. I got it at a local record store. If I remember correctly, he told me maybe 5, 6, 7 years ago, some guy that used to work for Century Media came into the store and sold a bunch of stuff that he just had sitting around in his garage. Loads of t-shirts, CDs, and stuff like that. So I believe Century Media was selling this, but it still kind of screams bootleg to me, maybe because of the back. Now you're probably seeing that front and be like, dude, that's a really cool shirt. I agree. But the back just makes no sense. I'm sure there's a story behind this, but Pete Sandoval. So I don't know if maybe Pete had these made up. Like, I'm going to put myself on the back. I heard he's a cool guy, so I don't know if that's something he would do. It looks like a tribute shirt, but I mean, Pete's still alive. He's not dead or anything, so I think this will make more sense when he dies. I know that sounds morbid. I certainly don't want him to die, but this will make more sense when he does. And it's kind of awkward, but whatever. I thought, I've wanted a Morbid Angel shirt for 20 plus years, and the front was very cool. Usually you just see like black shirt with white logo. That's what I always thought I would end up with, but I got this instead. So I don't know. It's pretty badass. And from this year, we have this compilation by Incantation, Tricennial of Blasphemy. I've already reviewed it on my channel here. Go check that out if you're curious as to what I think, or I can just put it simply, this is an awesome compilation. 2 discs, came out on Relapse Records, and so this is all material that has pretty much always been hard to find or just long sold out. It's got some other early EP stuff. It's got some live stuff on here. It's got some stuff from like really, limited pressings from the 2000s. I won't go through all of it because there's kind of a lot on here. There's 31 songs. Go watch my video, to see a little better what all is on this. But I can say, just to put it, quickly, yes, this is an awesome compilation. Unless you absolutely have everything they've ever put out, every EP, then maybe you wouldn't need this. But I mean, there's even some live stuff on here that I don't think has ever been on a physical, any physical media. But yes, if you're an Incantation fan, I would say you need this in your collection. Then also from this year, Paradise Lost, Live Death. This came out on Peaceville Records. So this was originally a VHS tape from back in 1990. And what's cool about this is live, a show they played late 1989. Real early for this band and for most death metal, to be honest. So I do really love early Paradise Lost. You got the CD, you've got the live DVD as well. This is very much worth getting. Haven't watched the DVD or even listened to the CD yet, so I guess I can't speak to the quality, but it's a damn cool package. I love early Paradise Lost, and I could not turn that down. Now getting into black metal, this is something that was sent to me by Scott Wilcox. Forgot to show it in the video I made of all the stuff he sent me. So what the hell is this thing? A Blaze in the Northern of Transylvania, tribute to Darkthrone. So this is just a bunch of black metal bands. A lot of them Mexican, but not all actually, now that I look at this. No, they're black metal bands from all over the globe pretty much. Just paying tribute to Darkthrone, playing covers. Was released by a Mexican label. Maybe that's why I said Mexican bands, but there are a few Mexican bands. But yeah, released on Cult Recordings and Azurmadoth Records. It's quite a few songs here. Definitely looking forward to checking this out. I've heard some of the bands. Let me go through a few. I won't name them all because there's like 27 tracks here. What have I heard? I know there's a few. The Black Mariah, they're an American band. I've heard them. They're pretty cool. One of those dudes, I think, used to be an Apsu. What else? Old Corpse Road from England. Actually a really good kind of symphonic black metal band. Really good. Now what's funny about this is my guess is the label, maybe said, yeah, pick a Darkthrone track to cover and we'll use it for this comp. But I don't think they eliminated like doubles, because there's some songs on here where like 2 or 3 bands played the same song, which, I mean, that's fine. I think it would have been better to, not use the same song 2 or 3 times, but it's funny. It's okay. I know there's 27 tracks here, so there's plenty of variety. And from 2002, we have the second demo from Nihilistic Chaos, French black metal. So, of course, I won't try to pronounce that title. I just kind of snagged this on Discogs. I have one of their other demos, maybe their first demo. I can't remember for sure. But I liked it, so I thought I'd snag this it was cheap, a couple bucks. Came out on Night Spirit Distro, limited to 145 copies. I liked how they did the limitation there. And they also put the limitation on the actual CD, which is cool. Not a lot of labels or bands have done that, so I like it. I'm crazy super raw French black metal. Uh, I don't really have any good comparisons or anything like that right now. Just check them out if you like raw French black metal. I think they're a little bit of an overlooked band. And you might have seen me show this already when I did my Gravewarm album discography, but I had not shown this in a new stuff video because I actually just picked this up just before that video, so it's been over a month. Blood of the Pentagrams, one of my favorite Gravewarm albums. This was released on Hell's Headbangers Records, seventh full-length album from 2010. What can I say, man? Catchy, simple, primal. You know, first wave, even maybe crossing into the second wave, just a little bit old style black metal. This is one of their best albums and a good place to start if you've never heard them. And last for black metal, we've got Krigsgrav. This is a black metal band out of Texas, sixth album and most recent from 2021. It's called The Sundering. Came out on what label is this? I used to know Wise Blood Records, I believe. Haven't listened to it yet in its entirety. I have checked out a couple of snippets here and there. It just seems like some really good, well played, well structured black metal. People that are, you know, decent musicians. This isn't just raw primal sloppy stuff. This is more sophisticated sounding. You know, there's guitar solos and, you know, the production's very clear. You can hear every instrument. You can tell, you know, that it's a well-written album. It's written by dudes that like black metal but are a little bit more ambitious than just playing, you know, primal, sloppy, super raw black metal. Very good, unique. Can't really compare it to anything or, you know, any specific band, which is good. They're not just kind of aping any one band in particular. I know it's got to be probably hard to do nowadays, but yeah, if you want to hear some you know, modern black metal that you might not be familiar with, definitely look into Krigsgrav. Then we got some noise rock slash grunge type stuff, I guess you could say. First one definitely fits in the noise rock category, or at least their early stuff, and I think it's seeped into their later. You know, they became more and more extreme. Some of their stuff's even like bordering on grindcore. We're talking about Today's the Day. This is the 8th album from 2004, Kiss the Pig. Came out on Relapse Records. Used to have it, don't anymore for some reason, or didn't, but now I have it yet again. Have not listened to this in a long time. Like I said, Today is the Day. If you've never heard them, they are kind of bordering on, you know, I always called them noise rock. They, you know, they kind of have that super heavy, sludgy sound like those, you know, like the early noise rock bands. In fact, their first, I think, 3 albums came out on Amphetamine Reptile, so that kind of tells you a lot right there. But, you know, they're way heavier than stuff like Jesus Lizard and Helmet and you know, Unsane and stuff like that. They're a little bit more on the extreme side and a little bit more experimental. Like I said, they have albums that are just so violent and abrasive. They're almost bordering on grind. Maybe not so much on this album, but you know, some of their other stuff. So this album, this is a band that kind of straddles the line between noise rock and grunge. This is Tad from Seattle. This is a compilation. It's basically got their first album, and I think first EP, something like that. This came out in 1990. It's got the 1990 full-length album Salt Lick, and the 89, I think it was an EP called God's Balls. Maybe God's Balls was a full-length album as well. I can't remember for sure, but so Tad were from Seattle. They came out during that, you know, the grunge explosion. They were early on. I mean, this is, you know, they were like almost as early as Soundgarden, not quite. I think as a lot of those bands started really early. You just, you know, mainstream-wise, you didn't really hear about them until, what, 90, 91? 91 probably for a lot of, you know, mainstream music fans. But, you know, a lot of those bands were toiling in the underground for years before that, and Tad were no different. I would say Tad were definitely one of the heavier bands, one of the heavier grunge bands. Maybe not as dark and depressing sounding as Alice in Chains, but heavy bulldozing riffs. Think grunge, we you know, with the splash of Unsane and Helmet, Jesus Lizard, stuff like that. That early noise rock stuff. I think you would dig Tad if you like my haphazard description. Got a couple left. Now we're in the rock/metal for the last two. This is the solo album released by Steve Vai. But it wasn't Steve Vai. This was a project that he just called Vai, and I think this is the only time he did it. He wanted to do more of a band effort than, he didn't want this to be a solo album. In most Steve Vai albums, he has himself on the cover. This is actually, so he's not on the cover on this one. This is a young Devin Townsend. So this came out in 1993. This is the third release Steve had done. So yeah, this is the first album that was, widely released, I guess you could say, to feature Devin Townsend. At this point, he pretty much, he was doing a band called Noisescapes, which had a couple demos, and apparently Steve Vai actually really, really liked it. He hand-selected Devin to sing in this band. Unfortunately, it did not last very long, but it is a pretty cool album. Came out on Relativity Records, you might remember that. So it came out in 93, like I said. Devin, I think he was like 20 years old when this album was recorded. Pretty crazy to think about, right? It's a cool album. I don't know how well this went over, with the general public. I heard it did pretty well in Japan, if I remember correctly. And I think it sold okay in the U.S. I heard that, they went on a pretty big tour for this, even played stadiums, in some cities. I can see why people would like this, and I can also see why they wouldn't. I like this album quite a bit. I don't like all of the material on here, but it's cool. For 93, I think for some people they might have thought it maybe sound a little dated, maybe a little too 80s, but a lot of stuff still sounded 80s, in 93. They're, how decades kind of, bleed into each other. But at the same time, it also sounds, depending what track we're talking about, it also sounds kind of forward thinking. There's a lot of good musicianship on here. I mean, it's a Steve Vai album, but it's got Terry Bozzio on drums. Terry Bozzio from UK, and what was that band he did with his wife? Missing Persons or something like that. Anyways, he's also a very famous session drummer in the LA area, especially in the 80s and 90s. And I think he's one of the best drummers on the planet. He's absolutely fantastic. So he puts a really nice, technical drum flair on this. What's the name of the bass player? I don't remember the name of the bass player, but everyone here was handpicked by Steve Vai. T.M. Stevens, and I apologize for not knowing, I don't know anything about T.M. Stevens, but as you might know, I have become, I should say, a really, really big Devin Townsend fan. So I had to get this. It's just, I'm a completionist, and I had to have, the first album that he sang on. Yeah, I think that's fair to say. First album, he'd been on a few demos and stuff from projects he'd done, but yeah, this is basically where he got his start. And last but not least, I'm sure you wish I didn't show this, but I'm gonna show shit that I like regardless of what everyone might think. So second album from 1991 from Iced Earth. This is a repress of some sort. Okay, 2002 repress, Century Media Records. So that's not the original cover, but it's pretty cool. So I bought this, and you're probably gonna think, serves you right, you fucking asshole, buying Iced Earth records. I've been an Iced Earth fan for almost 20 years, so I mean, I had always wanted this album and just never managed to get a copy for whatever reason. I didn't give John Schaefer any of my money. I bought this used. He didn't make a dime off of me. But dude, look at this shit. This is like extremely water damaged. I couldn't really tell, by seeing that in the store. I take the booklet out and listen to this, dude. It's like, it's crunchy almost. You cannot separate the pages without ruining it. The back insert looks, it's not too bad. It's in okay shape. The CD's in really good shape, actually. But I don't know what happened. Maybe somebody pissed on it or something. Some homeless guy used it for a toilet. I don't know. But, dude, this album is absolutely fantastic. It's, the first three Iced Earth albums had different vocalists on every album. They've kind of had vocalist issues. Well, they have a lot more issues than that right now. But anyways, we're talking about 1991 here. So they had a guy named John Greeley. Don't know anything about him. Don't know what he's done before or since, if anything at all. Really good singer, though. I mean, not as good as, anyone that they would have after that. But he was a huge improvement on their original vocalist, Gene Adam, who is pretty much a heavy metal meme at this point. A lot of people like to basically talk about him as, being like the worst vocalist in heavy metal, or one of the worst. I thought, honestly, I liked the first Iced Earth album. I think he's all right. I think he's not great, but I think I think he gets the job done. I don't know. I never saw it for as shitty or as silly as some people make it out to be. He's definitely not a great singer, but anyways. So John Greeley, huge improvement, and I mean this is just one of the better heavy metal albums in general. It's so fucking good. I don't know if I'd say it's a top 20 or even a top 50, but it's up there. This is a very, very quality album. I mean, this could very well be their best. My favorite would probably be the third, Burnt Offerings, but I mean, this is just a damn good, thrash power metal type album. It's fantastic. Like I said, I know it's kind of taboo to talk about Iced Earth, and it's even more taboo to say that you're a fan, but I'm not impressed. I don't get into politics, really. I'm not impressed with what John Schaefer did. I definitely don't approve. I definitely thought it was a stupid thing to do, but I liked Iced Earth decades before that shit happened, so. Anyways, that's it, guys. Got a lot more stuff I'm working on, including a really cool, I don't know what you'd call it, kind of a review, a little thing that I wrote up on the work of Devin Townsend. I know not a ton of you guys that watch this channel are big fans of his, but I put a lot of work into it, and I think it's going to turn out to be a good video. I don't know, I'm just feeling, I've said it before, but I'm feeling particularly inspired lately. I'm feeling inspired to do better things. The first couple of years of this channel, I had a total, punk rock, black metal attitude where it's, I just wanted to make all my videos on the fly, kind of put myself on the spot. And I still enjoy doing that. I still do that with like 90% of my videos, but I don't know. I feel the need to, create something that's just a little bit better quality. So I think you've probably noticed in the last year or so, I'm kind of stepping my game up a little bit. For what reason? What's my end goal? I don't know. But I enjoy the challenge, and I enjoy putting out things that I think are more interesting for you guys to watch. Whether you agree or whether it's something that appeals to you or not, that's okay. You don't have to watch everything I put out, but I do appreciate your time. So anyways, guys, got some cool stuff coming up soon. I think a lot of it will probably have been done by the time this actually gets uploaded, so I'll just stop now. You'll see it when you see it, right? But anyways, thanks for stopping by. Louis says hello, and we will talk soon.